Part 11. Not talking. Often, when I'm with Ivan, we don't even bother talking. We just look at his domain, at the green grass and the crazy babies and the swaggering juveniles and the hardworking females, and we think of nothing and everything. When you've been through the worst with someone, you appreciate the best. That's why sometimes when he says, "Hey, Bob," it's enough for me to say, "Hey, Ivan." And then we just listen to the palm trees rustle and watch the salt grass sway. Brave. Once, when we were still at the mall, I told Ivan how brave I thought he was. The way he put up with everything that had happened to him and never stopped being a good guy. Ivan just looked at me, cocked that big old head of his, nodded a bit. "That's not brave, Bob," he finally said. "That's just knowing what I can't change." "I call it brave," I said. "I call it crazy brave." Ivan held a browning banana up to the light. Like it was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen in his long gorilla life. I wondered whether he was going to eat it or draw it. You never knew with Ivan. "Seems to me there are lots of ways to be brave," Bob said. Bob, he said. A tiny mouse named of Eek skittered across his cage floor. "Hey, Eek," said Ivan. "Just checking for crumbs," she said nervously, because she always sounded nervous. "Dibs on all leftovers," I reminded her. She looked so terrified that I relented. Over there, behind the tires, old Carrot Top." "Respect Bob," she said, scampering off. "Take a small creature like Eek," said Ivan. He scratched his chin with the end of the banana. He said that when he was in a philosophical mood. Maybe brave for a mouse is different from brave for me or brave for you. He looked at me fondly. "You're the bravest dog I know, pal." "I ain't brave." I chewed on my tail, avoiding his gaze. "You are, Bob, untamed and undaunted," said Ivan, and he chumped off a hunk of banana. He offered the rest to me, but I shook my head. I wasn't feeling hungry. Also, it was mostly just peel. That's just my shticks, my routine. I hesitated. I mean, sure, I'm tough compared to, say, Eek, but that's setting the bar pretty low. "You're too hard on yourself sometimes, Bob." I met his eyes. He has these dark brown, deep set eyes, really kind ones. Eyes that make you want to admit things, confess to your failures. Once, when I was little, just a pup, I did something. Ivan waited patiently. Ivan is the king of patience. I felt myself dashing into a dead end tunnel. I couldn't escape. I didn't want to go there, not even with Ivan. "Never mind," I yawned. "I do that when I'm anxious. I'm rambling." "Bob," Ivan said, "you okay?" "You know me, Ivan. I'm always okay. Always." I slipped away before he could ask me anything more. Ruby. "Uncle Bob!" Ruby races over, galump across the broad field that's part of the elephant domain. She's so cute when she runs, like she's determined not to trip on her trunk. Ruby adores me. I make her laugh. I read the room. I lighten the mood. I gotta admit, I am kind of adorable. When I'm with Ivan, I think, "Pal, we've been through a lot, you and me. We are survivors." When I'm with little Ruby, I think, "Girl, look at you. Hard luck pass, and here you are, so much happier." She loved. Ruby, like Ivan, was plucked from Africa as a baby. She ended up in a circus that went bankrupt, then got shipped off to Max Mall. Ruby was taken in by dear old Stella. When Stella passed away, Ivan stepped in to play, well, elephant dad, I guess. I did my part too, not because I felt like I had to. It just made life easier. Elephant toddlers are a handful. You think humans are bad? Try putting a 200-pound baby elephant in timeout. Ruby's family. Little Ruby seems much more content at the park, surrounded by her new herd. Old and young and in between, they spoil that adorable, patchy Pachyderm like you wouldn't believe. She deserved every minute of it. Kid had a rough start. Seems elephant hang out in packs of females. Now that she's at the park, Ruby has adoptive sisters and aunts and grandmothers galore. In the wild, the elephant guys head off once they are old enough and do their own thing. Sometimes I lose track of who's who's who among the elephants because they're always taking mud baths, scrambling their smells. By the way, what kind of animal actually likes baths? Mud, sure. Ivan's art. How's it going, girl? I called to Ruby as she stops near the moat edging the wall. I had cantaloupe for breakfast, Uncle Bob, and it was yummy. And then I took a mud bath. She paused to take a breath. Do you want to hear a dog riddle, Uncle Bob? Of course I do, I say, and I catch Ivan's amused glance. What kind of dog is always on timer? Asked Ruby. You got me, Ruby. I'm totally baffled. Befuddled, bewildered. What kind of dog? A watchdog, Ruby exclaimed. Watchdog? Get it? Uncle Bob? Not bad, Ruby. Not bad at all, I say. Ivan says it's going to rain buckets, says Ruby. She dips her trunk in the moat and blows bubbles. I think Ivan is only something. Wait, I think Ivan is onto something there. Did she show you his new picture? Ruby asked. She grabs a tuft of grass and tosses in the air. I wish I could see it, but I can't because of that silly wall. But he told me all about it. My pal Ivan is quite the artist, just like Julia. Ivan sits up and nods towards a spot on the wall. Another mud merle? I ask. As any good dog knows, dirt plus water equals mud, and mud means mess, and mess means let's roll in this stuff and maybe dig a hole or 2 or 10. But for Ivan, mud plus a flat surface equals a waiting canvas. I crane my neck, edging a bit farther down to the top of the wall. Don't want to draw attention to myself. Hey, nice, I say. I mean, I'm not an art guy. To me, art is a glop of sprayed cheese on a cheese dog with extra grated cheese on top. Still, I've always admired Ivan's work. It's, Ivan begins. No, I say. Don't tell me. Let me guess. You always guess wrong, Ivan says. Not always. You thought my palm trees was a dandelion. Art is in the eye of the beholder, I say. You thought my blackberries were giant ants. Kiani ambles up to join in the conversation. And need I remind you that you thought his portrait of me was a chimpanzee with gas? The resemblance was striking, I say. Kiani glares at me. She glares at me a lot.